Hello there, YouTube, and welcome to a 33-degree Tuesday, what are we today? 14th of January. Just saying the other day, half the month is almost over. I mean, that's like legit here in a minute. It's like the clouds are touching the hills. Love that look. All the birds. You can tell the weather's slowly rolling around the right direction. That'd be Sasha seeing a cat. Because there's like way more birds in the mornings. Kelly's bird feeders get wiped out. But yeah, feels great. But anyway, let's roll out. Oh, by the way, that's Madison. She's decided that she can roam around. You can see she doesn't walk super smooth, but she gets around. It's crazy. That dog lived out there 8 days in that freezing rain. No water, no food. Talking about that crazy old Madison.
I know
it. Oh, Lord, it's nice and warm in here.
Oh. Good, don't it?
Slipped and fell. That's crazy. That is one resilient dog right there.
No kidding.
37 degrees and flat fogged in. Mm-hmm. There was one little patch right before you got to Kalama that there was a hole in the sky.
Yeah, and the sunshine coming through it.
Yeah, and then that was it. Just past somebody was getting blessed out there in the woods. It's kind of a quiet area over there. Mm-hmm. But Mama?
Yes, I have that.
The old war wagon's nice and smooth. A whole lot smoother than a 3/4 ton empty buckboard truck.
Yeah.
Man, that's some stiff suspension on those things.
Yeah.
But anyway, made it to Tuesday.
Yes, we have.
Let's go on in there and do whatever we need to do.
All right.
Or not. Like yesterday, holy moly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a long day.
Yep, that was a good thing I had something to do of my own.
Yeah.
Or I'd have been pulling my hair out. I do got some training stuff I need to get done, so. Anyway, let's go in there.
Right.
Have yourself a wonderful Tuesday, and I'll see you as the day goes on.
All right, Hubba.
All right, love you. See you. Bye.
I love you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Well, guess what? Got the okay this morning to put this thing together. They didn't even want to come out and look at it. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe they watched the video or something, because they wouldn't know who this motor was until we called them. So anyway, got in touch, or they got in touch, one of the two, and they got a green flag to go. Oh, I want to mention something. I've had one comment, and I meant to address that as I was working. I think I did, maybe. I don't know. I talked about that motor, that Honda motor, for so long, over a 3-day period there. But the inside of the valve cover that I cleaned out there on my little tank yesterday, that carbony, varnishy, gummy looking crap that's all up in there, that's absolutely normal. That valve cover, you gotta remember, it's just a big old dome sitting on top of it. All the oil, there's not oil flinging around. If you see one of the things running, you'll see the oil coming through all the shafts, and it bleeds out, and then it kind of pools and then runs down and goes back to the sump. Well, that oil is not, like like you look at the top of a modern motorcycle, you got cam chains, flinging around. And if you look at the one side where the cam chain and stuff is, because it's off to one side, that side's all clean. But the other side on top of the valves, that's where all that nasty look is underneath there. That's not exposed to fresh running oil. I had someone asking what kind of oil do I use that looks really bad up there. That has nothing to do with, if you look at the valve train itself, it's got that typical tainted cover. They started out silver like this, And it just, over time, the oil just stains it. With that many miles, they'll get that way. This one's got, I don't know, 50,000, something like that on it. I don't remember what. Hold on. It's got a lot of miles. Hold on. 47,000. And despite the last oils that were used, it probably had BMW oil in it most of the time. And but all this, the oil's always moving. Everything in here is getting plastered with oil. And the way the valve train and stuff works on this, the valve cover is really tight against the valve train, so it's exposed to slinging oil all the time. So inside the valve cover is going to look that way. On a car, it's not slinging around. They're, a low RPM, engine. The oil is just kind of around the valve train and goes down. But that's the case breather, where you can see where the case breather on this is on the back side. And you can see, well, you can't tell with that, but you can tell with the, this is what kind of seals it off from the motor and goes out. See all the gunk and stuff in that? Engines do that. But that's not exposed to the detergents that are in the engine oil. Now, garbage oils can be relatively low detergent. This old saying, if your motor starts to get dirty a little bit, like say, well, that Honda would be a perfect example. It holds 4.5 quarts. When you change the oil, put 4 quarts in there and put a half a quart of ATF. And specifically like Dextron 3. I think it's also referred to as Mercury. I don't know. But I know Dextron 3. And that'll give her a good flush. But that valve cover and those K24 motors with almost 300,000 miles, that is absolutely normal. No, I made no attempt to clean that out of there because it's not hurting anything. It's not, it's not in the flow of everything that's going on. Again, if you look over on the cam chain side, it's you don't see that much buildup because the cam chain is slinging oil around over there. So that just keeps washing off. It's just not a fault. So, but if any of you guys are curious, which the commenter was, I use Mobil 1 high mileage on that thing. And I use Mobil 1. I've used Mobil 1 on my cars forever. And my cars live forever. Anyway, let's get this thing together. Sitting here, jaw jacking, ain't getting it together, ne'er at all. So I get the old air opened up. And just do it. You go through the whole procedure of taking it apart, and then it goes to the next phase, and it reverses and shows you how to put it all back together, all in the same thing. You don't have to go find the assembly side of it. You just find, like initially, this is a starter clutch job. You find the info for that. It tells you how to take it apart, and it says they call it freewheel replacement, transmission removed. So first thing you go to transmission, removing transmission, it says in parentheses engine removed. So you got to go and look up removing the engine first, then removing the transmission, and then removing the freewheel or the starter clutch. So first thing I'm going to do is reassemble the starter clutch assembly, go through all that procedure, and then I'll go to the next instruction thing for the transmission, go down the page to where you start reassembling it, and you just go step by step. Has all your torques, explain stuff in detail. It's actually a magical thing. The only problem is, you look that stuff up, references for things will be different. I've beaten that horse quite a bit, but the instruction manual, the flat rate manual, and the parts manual will all call the same thing something different. And it is, you literally pull your hair out trying to figure out when you're doing an estimate. Because you need to look up the parts. The parts calls it one thing. You need to look up the flat rate. Flat rate calls it another thing. And then when you go to actually perform the job, the instructions call it something else. or word it a different way. Usually just randomly call it something else. Like if you look up starter clutch, if you don't know this is called freewheel, you'll never find it in the parts catalog unless you just look at the pictures, which is probably the safest thing to do, because it's going to give you a description that you're not going to find when you're looking up flat rate for it. It's just crazy. So it's like 3 different companies. There's, you know, the technical thing, there's the flat rate thing, and there's the parts. And they do not talk to each other. But anyway, rambling on about nothing. All right, let's get to it. Flashback to doing K1600 transmission. So this nut for the flywheel, you see, you get one-way clutch is in here, it works, goes that way, not go the other way. You can do the same thing down here. I can spin it this way, will not turn the other way. So anyway, you tighten this to 150 Newton meters, then back it off completely and tighten it back to 250 Newton meters. Well, this is where I was telling you, between A and B, the big pin and the small pin. So you torque this at pin A. Well, now I need to go over to pin B, which is bottom dead center. So you just gotta, whoops, I'm just gonna move it a little bit. I'll show you. Not supposed to show stuff in here, but it's gonna move it a little bit so that the pin B doesn't fall into the A hole. Because it's a larger hole. B will fall in either one. So you got to get it off of A, and you simply rotate it, and you'll hear it click. I'm not sure I'm pointing the camera at anything. Come around, you hear it go bang. Bam. Did you see it click and fall in? Now when you look inside here, you can actually see that is the smaller hole. If you've done these enough times, you realize all about this sounds wrong. Oops. You can see that hole is smaller. It's visually a smaller hole that fits that. See, the bigger pin's not going to go in that hole, but the smaller one will. Small pin, parts pin. So the rest of the stuff I'll be doing to this thing will be using, it wants it at bottom dead center. Now it doesn't say bottom dead center for left or right. It just doesn't say. You just go to from that A position, move it, put the B pin in there, roll it till it clicks. So I had to sweat this thing on. This is the bushing for the crankcase breather. I was just showing you guys that thing a while ago. It's where that rides on this area to separate crankcase gases from oils and whatever. For sure that's what that was, wasn't it? And that where there's the breather. And there's the seal that rides on that bushing. That sits back here. And your crank, this is the back of the motor. This is right and left. And the gases escape and come up through that. And it has this weird little thing that rides on the back there too. I wanted to say, no, the seal rides on this. And that bushing I just put on is an idler for that really fancy bearing. I mean, that is one fancy bearing. That's right. So that roller bearing, or whatever you call those style, will be riding on this. And then that cap goes on the end, and then the seal, that black cap has the seal on it. And here we are. So she's going together 250 Newton meters. I had to have where it was over here to take it off. That thing was nowhere near 250 Newton meters when I took it off. Not even close. I had James down here because, you know, that small nut on the end of the shaft, that little one sitting there, that about flipped the motor over. So knowing this is at 250 Newton meters, you know, I'm going to have a crane hold this thing down. That's a lot of torque, especially with a great big long cheater to take it off, torque to put it on. And yeah, don't use ever use your torque wrench as a cheater bar. You'll damage the yeah, you absolutely wipe it out. But anyway, so I know they come back on, so Terry came down here and helped me, and it takes a lot of torque. It tries to flip over. So anyway, moving on. Next step, I'm pretty sure it's all the Stator stuff I'm putting on next, because the last thing I did was to heat this up to 80 degrees Celsius. Get your gun out, put her in the C mode. Most of the stuff we do is in Fahrenheit, but most of for just general stuff, discussing stuff with people, but everything motorcycle related is in Celsius. Everything's in metric, everything's in Celsius. The air, you know, temperature, torque, everything. But your bolts, they're all metric. Except for the Torx. Is Torx metric, or is it SAE, or is it British Standard? Torx is just Torx. I got my whole little kit out here. This Cornwall kit, lifesaver. And then I got some really long ones, and I got some weird specialty things that only fit something every once in a while. Where's that thing at? That I paid like a crazy amount of money for that. I forget what that was for. The only person that had it at the time was Snap-on. That's a big one. And then there's weird ones. That's a it's a 5 Torx instead of a 6 Torx. I think is it this thing here? No, there's another specialty one I have somewhere. I thought it was down here with that one. But the Torx is 5 instead of 6 heads on it. Very strange. No idea. Oh, you know what? It might be a BMW special tool. And it's in the BMW box over there. Whatever. TikTok. Hope you guys enjoy that stuff. So let me show you something here. So I got my Dow Corning Yamaha and Honda, the special stuff BMW uses. But before I slip this Stator in, it's gonna suck itself in, you know, because it's got a metal core. But this is something I've seen people get caught out. Several. I'll do that when I make sure it goes in straight. Make sure like something like that's not in there. So this thing, you know, it's laying on your bench. A piece of metal, a bolt, a dowel pin, anything can be stuck in there. And if it's sitting somewhere where you can't see it, you need to look around that thing all the way around and make sure that flywheel is absolutely clean. Look down in the crevices, make sure there's nothing in there before you put that Stator in there. Because guess what happens? That magnet will grab just about anything that's, well, metal. It's a rare earth magnet, and it is crazy strong. And you don't see it. You push that in there, everything goes on fine. You torque everything down, put the motor back in the chassis, fire it up, and you hear some grinding noise, and well, the grinding noise stops all of a sudden. But yeah, you get a charge warning. The bike is no longer charging because that piece of metal just went through and ate up the Stator coils. Now you're taking the whole motor back out, the whole process. I know that sounds stupid, and probably you think that might be hard to do. Let me tell you, it is not. I haven't done it myself, but I've seen plenty of people do it. It's brutal and it's expensive. If you're lucky, It's like an old Japanese bike with a stator sitting at the end of the crank on the left-hand side or something. You can just pull a cover off and get it, but in this case, it'll look like that to get to it. What I've done here, other than putting the one-way clutch in there, was all this, and pulling the flywheel off, is all the steps for replacing the stator. So when I tell you don't charge a dead battery on a stator bike, there's 3 phases in this thing. And the one that rides at the top always gets the least amount of oil, and that's the one that'll smoke. Because these are a maintainer. Maintainer, not a battery charger, a maintainer. And the voltage regulator rectifier, which is hanging out underneath right there, you can see the coupler. It doesn't know any difference. It goes, whoa, we got a low battery. This guy, jump started me and got me going. And so it's going to throw the coal to it. Yeah, well, flat, lay it to it. Well, that overheats the stator, and usually the top side. In this case, that would be the top. Every time there's smoke at the top. Doesn't matter, Japanese, German, Harley, does not matter. It'll always be the one at the top that doesn't get the best splash of oil. Although I do like the fan little effect thing they got going on there. I don't know if what air is in there. Maybe that's blowing some air at the stator. It's got an oil too, so pretty good idea. So that thing's spinning that way. It probably helps reduce that kind of stuff. Don't charge a dead battery with a running motorcycle with a stator. If you have an alternator, that's a different thing. It's not a car. You jump start it and take off with a dead battery. Do not want to do that with a motorcycle. So I know, well, right away, you got to use the Dow Corning stuff on the around the stator coupler rubber bushing or whatever, the grommet. I mean, my tube of the Dow Corning stuff, as it does, got hard. So look at this. And yeah, this is another one of these things. You might get away with using something else, but this BMW stuff is the real deal. They never leak when you use the BMW stuff. Of course, it kind of goes with those things, Use the OEM stuff. They know better. But man, that little tiny tube, $46. That's they even give you the part number for it, which magically is the same part number on the label, huh? I seen one tube. Kelly was up there getting me something, I don't know, a month or so ago, and I go, ooh, one tube left. I hope. Of course, I didn't know other things were going to happen, but she said there's still more back there. 5 of 2023. I don't know, 30, probably the 5th. I don't know what it means. Is that saying it expires probably the 30th week of 2024? So technically it's a goner, but you can feel it's nice and soft. What happens even before you open it? And if you got, one of those things that squeezes this, you can cut that thing down to a point. But look how much goes in that tube that just goes to waste. Because when you're done, you got to take this off and put the regular cap on, or it'll dry out quick. But, man, if you can squeeze that thing out with that small hole, you can just run that thing right around the bead of the gasket area. Oh, that works nice. But this stuff is way too thick. But, anyway, that's you can see with the bulletin, that's air. It's just telling you step by step what to do, what to use. Gotta love it. Anyway, I went up there for that, and that took me about 20 minutes because ran into the customers, which is always cool, and I love sitting there and shooting the bull with them. That's always great. And I kind of get paid to do that, but sometimes I get a little behind on my jobs, and I don't need to be doing that. That's all right. This time of year, you're very welcome. Come on in. All right. It's the day's kind of clicking on here because visiting Kelly customers and financial guys and stuff like that. Have a wait. There's the only rush is the customer wants this thing back. I'm sure they probably let him know that it got okayed and we're going back together. So need to get into it. Then figure out what I'm gonna do after that. Hopefully the painted parts for that other Spyder will show up. I don't know what's taking so long with that, but get that back together. Oh, that thing wasn't sold. I think I told you guys that one of the service riders had a sign on his wife's bike, and he was getting her bike and just sitting next to the Spyder, just threw it on the seat. It was for hers to keep salesmen and customers from touching it. But all right, going back at her. So there she is, all back together. The tools everywhere. It's always tools. That's the plug for the engine lock, and I got to use a special tool to put the Shift Assist Pro on. There's all the clutch and all that stuff all back together. Everything's torqued down. And during the disassembly, and I question it at the moment, but went on, but it told me to take this nut off the back of that shaft. It's the main shaft that goes to the clutch, all the way through to the clutch. And I'm going, okay, whatever. So I took it off. This needs to be out of the way so I can torque it down one of the push rods. But on the reassembly, it doesn't say anything about that. So I need to go into the transmission stuff and find out what the torque is for that and torque it back down. So I thought I'm crazy or something, so I went back to the disassembly, and yeah, it definitely tells me to take that nut off, and it was on there shockingly tight. And look, it's got some like bearing retention Loctite in that thing. But I don't know, whatever. I'll figure out what it is. So I'll leave the tool in. But now I'm thinking I've got the motor back together, so I can't turn it over, and it probably, because that's got enough torque, that probably wants to be on A, which means to pull a valve cover off and turn it over. I don't know. Depends on what the torque is, because that's the small pin. Pin B. Pin A is the one out here. But we'll see. Anyway, that's it. Clean up my tools, and it's yeah, got about 55 minutes, and it's the end of the day for me. Well, hello there, YouTube. Almighty. Man, it's been so foggy today. Like, we left work, it looked like it was dark.
Yeah.
Looked like sunset was way back when it was the shortest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was dark. I mean, you can see halfway home or more now. I don't know what sunset is now. But
not with the fog.
Yeah, that fog layer. It's not ground level, but it's up, up there. And I got a whole bunch of fog warning things too. We stopped, got tractor supply, got all loaded up on some stuff. I got a little stand with 2 LEDs that I can stick over there for working on the car, so I don't have to worry about battery powered lights and stuff. It's 4,000 lumens. That ought to get the job done. I had one of those stands before, and Kelly was talking about, but they were those old, I forget what the bulbs were, that were expensive and didn't last long.
Yeah, and then you couldn't find them anywhere.
Yeah, and then they'd burn you. They draw so much heat. But anyway, I think on that, we'll roll out.
Alrighty, well, thank you guys so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. We will talk to you tomorrow. Same smoke time, same smoke channel. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up. You guys have a wonderful Wednesday or Thursday.
Heck yeah. Alright.
And we'll see you in the moment.
We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye now.